Hi, I'm Sherin Nicole, and you've kind of landed in the middle of something. We're sitting here getting to know each other on the Fantastic Forum, and so we're going to get you introduced so you can get to know us too, and we're going to talk about anime and see what that evolves into. So I'll start to my right. And
I'm James Lewis.
James Lewis, voice actor.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and
And I'm Toni Montiero, DC TV producer.
cool. And
David Oliver, entertainer and production person.
so we're talking. We've already been talking about the Speed Racer trailer.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
With
yes.
Candy.
Yes.
They should do a cameo video with it. You know,
Yeah.
have Larry Blackman in there.
Oh.
So, what? I guess there's been kind of a lot of adaptations of animation to live action. You guys got any favorites?
Actually, I got a lot of favorites. I like the Rag On, one of them being Fist of the North Star.
Oh,
That was the worst
come on.
adaptation in the history of man.
Oh, God.
not as bad as Guyver.
Well, yeah.
Now you got a point
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
You got a
No,
point there.
I'm going to tell you the best one that was done somewhat right, would had a little bit of stuff left out of it, but it was because of time. The first Mortal Kombat. That was the best one
Yes.
Yeah.
because the first worst one would have to be Super Mario Brothers with John
Oh.
Leguizamo. Yeah,
Oh,
blew the
my
dust off you on that one, didn't it? I mean, come on, they supposed to be
Forgot about that
dinosaurs and they're these little miniature head people walking around in suits talking like Italian gangsters. So I just didn't get it. You know what I'm saying? So that's the worst one in my mind, but the best one is the first Mortal Kombat. Because they did the moves right, they did the storyline right, and two, reason why I didn't do it because they rushed too many elements from 2 and 3 to hurry up and match, which kind of left you kind of dead in the water because you didn't really see where it was going.
Well, from a production standpoint, I think you have to keep in mind. I don't think they anticipated the success of
Of
the
one.
movie.
Right.
So then they had to hurry up and do the sequel so they can get them into the box office.
Well, if they did it right, they would have had enough for 2 sequels. Because, see, again, you still had the game 2 and 3 that came out at that same time. So if they'd have did the movie based on the storyline from 2, then they could have did a third based on the storyline from 3.
That's
So
a
we
whole
would've been
nother
straight.
show, though. That's how to avoid bad sequels.
Yeah, that's why I say. So, yeah, that's the reason why, yeah.
That's
yeah.
segment 2.
Yeah.
What about the Transformers movie?
Ew.
Wait a minute now.
all I
Wait
have to
a
say.
minute.
On
Wait a
that one.
minute.
I'm really on the fence on that one.
Yeah,
And
we-
majorly the reason why is because the robots spoke emotion, but in the anime, they were animated.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's true.
In the
Yes.
movie, they were not, and it kind of took away from it, because the whole idea was that they weren't AI, they were, their own entity.
Yeah.
Right.
Living-
And it just sucked it right out of it. That
Living
just really
beings.
made me mad.
I'm going to play devil's advocate,
Okay.
and I'm going to say from a technical standpoint, I liked the movement.
Yes.
I thought it was good because they are mechanical, but they're mechanical with a soul.
Right.
Yeah,
And
the
the compassion came through in what they were saying, how they responded, their battle with the Decepticons and so forth. I think it really came out, and I think they really captured the essence of the cartoon when they did it. I like the movie.
But you know what?
That's
I
the
did.
point. That's too much of an adaptation. It takes away from what they were actually doing in the first place. Because back then, come on.
You sound like me. Yeah, we belong together. I'm so glad you're here.
Because see, actually, that's what we just got finished saying a minute ago off camera. Is that the problem that these people are doing? They take away some of the old elements that make the shows really founded in the culture that lasts 10, 15 years, in some cases 20 and 30, and we kind of feel kind of jaded that we don't get those elements back. But my key thing by being a person who loved to play bad guys. I didn't feel like I got enough out of Megatron's character because Megatron didn't do what he normally would do to be menacing, and the same with Starscream
Why?
to feel a
They're
betrayal.
saving
But why?
it
Thank
for
you.
the sequel.
Exactly.
Yeah, they're
It's
saving
Well,
it.
that- I
And you gotta
understand.
admit, the
Sucks.
CG
At
was
least
beautiful.
has to give some
Right.
flavor to it.
They gave you a
I
little
think
flavor.
they gave you I
They
am
gave you a little bit,
Megatron, and
So
I mean,
what?
and the CG was done beautifully. I mean,
Okay,
just the way they
now,
transformed,
let me ask
the
y'all
sound
something.
was there.
Now, let me ask you something with this. Now, this is again going back to my point of arguing old versus new.
Yeah.
When you first saw the series, like she's trying to say, they were entities, but they had a human quality
They were
to them.
breathing, living, breathing
No,
creatures.
but now that's their
Quality. Exactly.
that's their personality. But I'm talking about physically, the characteristics.
Yeah.
When they transformed out of the vehicle mode, what did they look like? They looked like people.
They
So you
didn't look
almost
like they did, and
They
not
did.
only
When you
that,
think about
but
it, look
the
at the structure.
movements and everything were more humanistic than they were robotic.
But we're
Cartoon.
talking about cell versus CG.
Right.
Cell
Well, no, I know,
animation has
but it
a
was just too much
fluidity
for
that
me
they
that-
Well,
haven't.
come
Hold on,
on
let me
now.
say
If
that
they can
this.
do it with the freaking Hulk and with
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
But
yeah.
then they
Come
could
on,
have
but the
done
Hulk,
it. They
look,
didn't try
oh
to
my
go
goodness,
the whole 9
you guys,
yards.
you know, we're running out of time. We haven't
Oh.
even gotten into the
Oh,
full range
yeah,
of anime.
okay, yeah, okay.
We got to get into anime.
I thought that's okay. My fault.
Yeah, well, it's a good conversation. I want to keep going, but there's so much great animation. I was having an argument earlier today where they were saying that Ghost in the Shell wiped out Akira.
Bull.
How
But-
so?
That's what I'd like to know. I thought it was a
No,
progression.
They're two, no, not even a progression because they're two different ideologies completely.
Yeah.
Because Ghost in the Shell has everything to do with, like I said before, AI going human.
Right.
Whereas Akira was human evolution.
Yeah.
Right.
Total different genres all the way around the board. And neither can touch one another. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they
They're,
totally
they're not
separate.
the same. And that's
Who-
an apple and an
Who would
orange.
be crazy enough to bring that argument? Because they're totally separate. There's no way they're two different realms.
Should I call
exactly.
names?
Yeah, I mean, 'cause for real-
I can lay eye on a couple people
Yeah, 'cause
right
like,
now.
Because you is tripping.
Yeah,
Put the
because
weed on there.
I mean, both
Weed
deal
down.
with some type of evolution, but the
Yes.
evolution change is
Mm-hmm.
dependent upon the factors of society at the time. Now, mind you, Akira, when it was made,
Yeah.
they were more interested in human evolution, the possibility of the reconstruction of mind, body, and soul to build the better human, which is what a lot of people think apocalyptic genre really is. Ghost in the Shell, that goes all the way back to the first day a computer was thrown up. When are they going to take over the world? When are they going to be more smarter than us
When
and
did they
be
develop
more like us and
consciousness?
then develop a consciousness and then just take over?
Right.
And that relies off of the fears of mankind for their own creations, the same
gonna
way as
say,
Shelley's
the
Frankenstein.
fear.
But
Yeah.
you know what? I think what they were getting more into is the way that they changed animation. Like the way that you felt when you watched Akira, was that one-upped by the way that you felt when you watched Ghost in the Shell?
I don't think so because you're talking about, well, see, the different types of anime artists.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they do things differently. I mean, you have the people that do the standard anime, which you would see to me like Dragon Ball Z.
Right.
And then you have those that want to come closer to stuff like
More humanistic.
movement and
What's
stuff
the
like
movie,
that.
Jin?
Social change.
Like Jin?
Right,
Right.
Or Sin,
Sin, I'm
or
sorry,
Sin,
Sin,
and
yeah.
I can't
Lane,
think of the other one.
Serial Experiments Lane. Have you guys seen that?
Well, actually, I haven't
haven't
seen
seen
that
that,
one,
no.
but the most updated one was done by the transfer over through Disney, which was I can't think of the name of it. That's terrible.
Not Howl's Moving Castle.
No. This was back a little ways.
But
when
while
they
you
were
try to
talking about
remember
Earth
that,
and changeovers.
Since we have about 2 minutes before we have to go to break, tell me what anime completely changed your perception, and keep it, about 30 seconds.
Ooh, boy. Well, I'm gonna have to go old school, because I'm old school anime. I go back to the days of Eighth Man.
Oh, classic.
That was it. Yes.
Yeah.
Eighth Man.
And what was it
Definitely.
about that?
The humanistic qualities of the robot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Tony?
Actually, mine would be Legend of the Overfiend.
Oh gosh, that's a whole nother show as well. We're talking about, it's just not a show unless you talk about Tenkai. But tentacle porn, as I call it.
Complete. That actually goes past porn. That's triple X to the 10th level.
Yes, yes. I'd have to
Kids
say,
do not watch that at home.
Never,
No,
ever,
please.
ever,
Please,
ever.
Please. What
I'd
was
have
it
to
for
say
you?
Ninja Scroll because I was a martial artist.
Gosh,
So the
yes.
movement and everything that I watch when it comes to martial artists have to be exact for me, or else I won't get it. But I'm gonna really knock you old school. It was original anime done with the called Chinese Gods, where they incorporated Bruce Lee in with all the Chinese deities for the different techniques of fighting in a war going on during China at the time. It's classic. It's back 1970. 6, I think it was, because they even had the original sound effects from the Super Friends series mixed in with the voices.
That's
Because
one
I got a
haven't
copy of it that's
seen.
supposed to be worth $80 on the black market, but I found it from a guy, he didn't realize what he had, for $5. So Chinese gods was what changed it for me.
All right.
Let that be a lesson to you children. Black market anime will change your life.
That's right.
And with that thought, we will be back in, I don't know how long, but we'll be back.
Because the voices in there.
This is your BPD Newsbrief, spoofing you up to date on the weird, wild worlds of the various super, meta, hyper-augmented, magically endowed characters that populate the pages of your favorite geeks. This is BPD, where our geek is meta. I'm Andrea McPherson. My regular news anchor is out today, and here's what's going on. Recent study shows most women don't watch or read Bugle's Planet daily. The report extrapolates that while femme fans have highly developed senses of humor, the rise of online feminist hive mind may be sucking the joy out of comics. Comics sociologist Big Mike Pellegrino claims that this is so money. This just in, green linked to promiscuity. It has long been thought the Spanish fly, an emerald green beetle in the family Melody, was a powerful aphrodisiac. But new studies show it is actually the insect's green color, and it's not the chemical makeup that turns up the heat. Spiritualists agree, as green is the color of the heart chakra, which is the ruler of both pleasure and touch. Furthering this theory, the all-female scientists of Nevada's famous chicken ranch have found the sexual urges induced by green must be satisfied post-haste or risk debilitating side effects like pimpus splatibus or madamus melodowne. The ladies believe this is especially true of heroes and metahumans. One chicken head said, "A hero for metahuman's sense of self is often thoroughly intertwined with their costume and or mutation, which in turn becomes their primary means of relating to the world. The most resonant component of this identity is color. Bottom line, you mix high levels of adrenaline, self-righteousness, and any shade of green, boom, it's liable to make your head blow off. Both of them." This discovery has huge ramifications for those heroes who have often been reviled for their sexual appetites and proclivities. In a rather disturbing side note, the ladies of the Chicken Ranch claim their discovery was precipitated by frequent visits from a cone-headed green man who offered Oreos in exchange for favors. The entity had yet to be identified at press time. You can always visit us on the web at this address, http://buglesplanet.blogspot.com/. Check us out on the net at this address. Tune in next week for more of your BPD News Brief. I'm Andrea McPherson, and I'll be your comic book character any day of the week.
When this comic first came out, I called some of my closest friends. I said, "The comic we've been waiting for 20 years has come out," I said. Well, they asked, "Which comic is that?" But it was okay, because I wouldn't have known immediately which comic it was either. The whole nature of the thing being so totally improbable. In any event, the comic I'm speaking about was Justice League of America and the Avengers, #1. And as many fans know, this comic was decades in the making. Back in 1983, it was announced that Marvel and DC were producing a Justice League and Avengers crossover book. After several successful Superman and Spider-Man crossovers in the late 70s, the two comics publishers saw the potential profit in teaming up to bring the readers more interaction between their two universes. And it was a natural. As a boy reading comics, a regular topic of discussion was who was stronger, Hulk or Superman? Was Green Arrow a better archer than Hawkeye? Who would win in one-on-one fights between the likes of Superman and Thor, Captain America and Batman? So we were all salivating back in 1983 when this announcement was made, because this book would finally answer all our questions about who would beat whom, right? Wrong. Following delay after delay after delay, the book was canceled. There were accusations and counter-accusations, but the bottom line for the fans was no comic book. So now, fast forward to 2003. I'm holding it in my hot little hands. And the one thing you worry about with a story like this is whether it will have the appropriate grandeur. Well, basically, this one did. It was epic in nature and scope. But any meeting of these two teams of titans would have to be. Kurt Busiek did a fabulous job on the story, which was matched by the art of George Perez, whose consistent work has cemented him at the top of his field. And the story delivered some great moments, setting the stage with Metron and the Grand Master, the teams facing each other for the first time, Thor getting angry and hitting Superman with his hammer, Batman versus Captain America, Captain America exploring the mysteries of the Batcave, Batman beating up the Punisher, Superman versus Thor. Well, even though they got that one wrong, Superman's weakness against magic should have allowed Thor's enchanted hammer to have given him the beatdown of a lifetime, and Superman certainly should not have been able to stop it with his bare hands. But Superman is the granddaddy of them all, and so even a Norse god from mythology has got to take a back seat to that. But in a nod to Thor, Superman is clearly severely weakened and barely standing after his titanic battle with the son of Odin. And on top of that, upon seeing Thor go down, his crew basically gives the Man of Steel a regular old-fashioned beatdown, superhero style. But surely the hair-curling moment has to be seeing Superman wielding Thor's hammer and Captain America's shield in the final conflict against the Mad Guardian, Krona. Kinda worth the wait, I'd say.
Welcome back. We're still getting to know each other, still talking anime, especially Black Market.
Yes.
Especially, you got to do what you got to do. So
Get off the
before we
street.
get back into another conversation, I want to take a minute out to talk about your work.
Yes.
Especially since this is primarily a comic book show. That's normally what we talk. But, it's also sci-fi and fantasy. But I have here a nice little treat, which I may steal. And these are the audio books for Infinite Crisis.
That's right.
On which James plays a huge part. Tell us about the characters.
I do a couple of voices on there. Well, first of all, let me say that, this is new ground for DC. Because these audio books are not just, someone reading, the comic book where you're getting it from a narrator's point, but they're actually full, all-out productions.
Wow.
Sound effects, everything that you
Is
hear.
it like the old school radio back
I
in
was
the day?
thinking War of the Worlds.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. That's been missing.
So I do several voices on here. I do Nightwing. I do Jon Stewart, Green Lantern. I do Firestorm. I do Jimmy Olsen.
That's great.
Now, mind you, you done said like 3 white people and 1 black person. So you got to really think
2
about
black
it.
people.
Firestorm and Green Lantern.
Well, depending on which
And,
Firestorm.
okay, I'm about to
Firestorm is
say.
now black.
That's right.
Okay,
That's right.
I don't know.
And
I don't know.
I do Dr. Polaris.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him, yeah.
And Ragman, the first Jewish superhero. Yes.
Yay.
So I do quite a few voices.
Give me a sample. Can you give
I
us a
was going to
sample?
say, can we get a little taste of...
Well, Nightwing is actually my regular voice.
Okay.
So when you hear Nightwing, he sounds just like I sound, every day. Now, you know, for Jon Stewart, I go a little deeper, and you'll hear Jon talk like this, you know, because he's more serious when he's doing things. Now, Firestorm is very young, so, you know, you'll hear him come out at you, you know, a little bit like this. And Jimmy Olsen, he's kind of high, you know, because he's a real, you know, strung out kind of guy because he hangs out with Superman. He doesn't have any powers.
I'm gonna let you do my answer machine, man, so I can bring out the candles with the women tonight. Like, yeah, let me put this on. This is my man right here doing Jon Stewart. Yeah, get
but
some love going on there.
Isn't
Yeah.
it funny how key the voices are
Yes.
to the series? Like, funnily enough, I only watch things that are subtitled because I want the original story and I want the original inflection.
Right.
But I find when I'm watching Inuyasha, I prefer the English voices to the Japanese ones.
I guess because of the interaction. Mainly because of the interaction. Because there's a lot more dialogue towards the personal in those than it is towards the action. You know, so when it's dialogue towards the action, while the action's going, you got a chance to read the dialogue. But when it's getting intimate and they're really getting into the characters and the feelings of the situation at hand or whatever have you, then you don't want to go, stop.
Right,
Rewind.
right. And one of the things you have to understand, you know, any casting itself is an art form.
Yeah.
You know, whether
That's
it's
very
the
true.
visual
Yeah.
for a movie, TV, you know, or, you know, something from an audio standpoint. It's even more important there because you can't rely on anything else, especially if you're looking at an animation. The animation is done, whether it's being shown in Japan or whether it's being shown here in the U.S. or Europe or wherever, but that voice casting, because when you see that character, you already have an idea in your head on what you think they're going to sound like.
Exactly.
Okay, and does that casting professional capture the essence of that character?
Now, I'm going to tell you, doing casting for what I was trying to do, because just like you, I like watching the original movies with the original subtitles, because their interaction, like she said, is always real, because when you transfer it, sometimes it doesn't get, and I'm a martial arts fanatic.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, when I watch some of these martial art films that are taken from anime, I always see that there's something lost, because I'm like, they're not really touching on it like they're supposed to.
Yes.
And they focus on the movements, but they're not exactly like the movements that's supposed to be for that particular technique.
Right.
And then I get lost when they talking, but then I say for myself, when I had to cast my film, for the part that I wanted, I didn't want nobody to do
What
any.
film is it?
It was called The Empire Divided. It was originally an idea I did from a monologue for an acting class. I told Tony and the rest of the team, and it developed into a series. So everybody was like, "Well, can we do it?" And I said, "Well, it's an all-black kung fu film. It's a fantasy. It's no different than, say, any of the like Five Deadly Venoms. All of these are folklores. I love the Chinese and Japanese and Korean folklore, and that's what I wanted to tell. And from when everybody kept reading it, they really thought that it was written for a Chinese cast. Because I took it to a Tibetan temple, and they were like, "Are you serious? Who's Chinese?" I said, "Nobody." They said, "Who's playing Li Chi Mu?" "I am." And they said, "So who's playing Lord Chen?" "There's an actual Filipino gentleman who's a martial arts specialist who's on staff, but he's not playing the character. It's being played by an older gentleman by the name of Earl." So they was like totally blown away, and that's why I said it's very important that when you go and do these things, you match the voice with the look.
did.
Yeah.
Because it's very important, because I find that when you do it wrong, you get a whole bunch of parodies, and nobody likes parodies. They want real deal these days.
Well, I'll tell you, we actually won a Listen Up Award for Infinite Crisis
Right.
by Publishers Weekly. We just got that like 3 weeks ago.
Very cool.
So, but our producer, Rick Rohan, is a comic fan also. So he got the characters already. I remember
That's key.
I remember one incident in particular where we were all sitting around figuring out who was going to do Guy Gardner's voice. Okay, now I'm showing you the level of detail they went to in casting this. They wanted to know where Guy was from in the book. Guy is from Baltimore.
Oh, is he?
Yes, Guy Gardner's from Baltimore. So they wanted to make sure that whoever did his voice had the Baltimore accent.
That's great.
Had the yes.
See,
yes.
that's what you miss in film sometimes.
That's the
And
level
he
of
has to like
detail.
house
Yeah,
music.
and not only
You
that,
gotta
but
like
it-
house music. If you're
Yes.
from Baltimore, you gotta like house music. Give him that house
That
music.
explains things about Guy Gardner that
Now
all of a
you
sudden
know.
clear. Yes,
now you
it's
know.
so
So he
clear
in there,
now.
whoop, whoop.
Well, you know, there's something someone we have to talk about, because I can't do an anime show, at least not do the first one, without mentioning this gentleman who's one of my favorites, and that's Hayao Miyazaki. He's genius. I mean, I'm sitting here trying to think of my favorite film it, I think it would have to be Spirited Away. Because it's beautiful, the story, you're just kind of wrapped up in the narrative and taken away. But I wanted to hear some thoughts from you guys on Hayao.
I don't know. I'm just always fascinated by everything that he
Yeah.
does. I mean, because I can't pick out anything specific. Because again, we go back to the colors, the sounds, the movement, because that's very important in anime for me. Again,
Cinematography.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
cinematography.
yes,
sorry.
beautiful.
It goes
Because,
both ways.
yeah.
And, you know, I mean, and not only that, but the depth in which he'll go with certain types of things. Because, like, for instance, when I mentioned Overfiend,
I want to talk about
the only reason why I talk about it is because of the fact that when you go past the visual,
Yeah.
there was a lot of underlying different cross-cultural messages that went through that movie that he was able to convey. It's only the adolescent mind that can't get past.
It's a great story.
The sex and violence that
But
goes
actually, I
on.
like how
It's
he
a great
incorporates the
story.
religion into it as well.
Exactly,
That's what got me.
because
I had
it
to
was
watch
so
the
close.
series for the story because the story was there.
Because before she gave me the series, I had only seen just the one, and
And
I
he
was
was
like,
like-
nah, because I saw several different ninja movies.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be an actual sex technique in ninjutsu that you use to take out enemies, and I was sort of like, okay, they're going over the top with this because you had Cutie Honey, you had what's the other one, something with a cat, and I was like,
Let's
ugh.
let's not.
I'm like,
let's bring it back to
The
him.
point
Let's
was-
bring it back to the
point being-
genius of Hayao.
Then you had,
Well, but his
when you-
being
Miyazaki.
religion was played in there
Right,
strongly.
and he
That's
does
what I'm
that
saying
a
with
lot
that.
in
Yeah.
different things, including, if I'm not mistaken, oh goodness, Tokyo Revelation. Exactly. Well, Tokyo Revelation has to deal with a cross of Revelation as apocalyptic as Christians know it, with the cross of the fact that what's coming back isn't what you think, but it's the gods of the old, and the gods of the old don't come back by just appearing.
Okay.
They possess you. And
okay.
you know, and things of this nature. So the crossovers
It's
of the
emerging-
different
emerging
the
of the
merging of
cultures.
cultural
Right.
phenomenon as far as apocalyptic adventure
And that's the
goes.
best way to describe his work because he bring religious aspects, say from Italian to Japanese to Korean to American, and that's why I say I like some of his
Sanskrit.
work. It's always like you're like, wow, where is he going with it? But you actually can feel it and relate to it, no matter what religion you are.
We're talking about Miyazaki or the folks that did Overfiend.
Well, I'm sorry, I meant to say Overfiend. The people who did
Overfiend.
Overfiend. I'm sorry to say
no,
wrong,
but
but I'm
Miyazaki
sorry.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but see, but oh my gosh, and then not only that, but a lot of people, because that comes from the copy, you know, because there's always going to be those crossovers, because a lot of it got popular, and that's the reason why it's like, hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way, you know. So I mean, you get that kind of translation with that. And that's the thing I think that attracted me the most was the crossover of the different ideologies and how much they really meld. And I think that's what caught me in the first place.
Okay.
So
You know, I don't know how to end this, but I'll say that that's what makes anime great is just how involved you get into it and how beautiful it is on so many levels. And I'll say bye. See ya.